G'day and welcome to the Game Day Squad Fantasy Cricket Show. I'm Stu, that's Dyl, and we are the Fantasy Bros. Thanks everyone for tuning in once again as Dyl and I preview everything Aus Cricket related before round 4 kicks off in about an hour's time. Dyl, round 3 wrapped up last night with a disappointing loss for the Heat against the Sixers. Did your squad perform a little bit better?
Yeah, g'day Stu, g'day viewers. Thanks for tuning in once again. Look, Stu will do most of the heavy lifting today. I'm a little under the weather. I don't know if you can hear it coming through the mic there, but nothing like a bit of man flu on the other side of Christmas, just to keep you on your toes. I think my squad felt a little under the weather as well during round 3, a bit like the Heat. Pretty disappointing across all 4 squads. Unfortunately, no decent finishes for me. But I'm still looking at a couple of decent season results so far. I'm 14th in champion, 10th in challenger, and 4th in starter. Also, a massive shout out to Hunge Purses. I've been keeping an eye. He is brand new this season. He just signed up at the start of the season using our promo code, which we'll give you in a moment. And he's sitting 15th overall in starter.
Yeah, mate. Oh, a couple of things to digest there. That throat of yours is not sounding very good as well. Save that voice. I'll do most of the heavy lifting if possible, but I know you love your stats, mate, so you won't be able to help yourself. Just before I get into Hunge Purses, that's fantastic news, but Fantasy Fanatics has said what's on all of our minds, and that was what a day of cricket it was. We probably all sat glued to our couches for that afternoon session when the Aussies looked like they were in a bit of trouble. Probably going toward a draw, but those 7 wickets late in the day was just unreal to watch and great to see. And a lot of the boys said that it was probably one of their biggest wins in memory. So that's awesome for them and great for us viewers. And now we're filling the void between that match and the Aus cricket. How good?
How good indeed.
Yeah, mate, Hunge Purses, a good mate of ours. I wonder if he's watching. He would be, wouldn't he? Look, Hunge Purses, mate, if you are watching, send us a message in the comments, and I'll open up a pack for you live on stream, and I'll send you all of those cards. Let's see if he is watching. Mate, no podium finishes for me either during that previous round, but I'm currently 7th, 4th, just outside the 20 and 11th on the overall tables at the moment, so I'm there or thereabouts, but yeah, round 3 was a little bit disappointing. Hopefully get a crack on and a move on up that leaderboard this round. Hey, remember everyone, if you want to challenge Dyl and I on those leaderboards, it's still not too late to do so. You can still create an account, you can still sign up, you can still play, and you can still win some fantastic weekly and seasonal cash and pack prizes. Simply download the app or visit the Game Day Squad website, create an account using the promo code FBAC24, and that'll give you a free 3-player rare pack. You'll get your squads rolling with that pack, and you'll also be able to open up a heap of bronze cards as well to fill up the rest of that squad. Guys that are the regulars, make sure that you're getting your mates involved as well. They can use that code FBAC24, but then you can also give them your own personal referral code, and you can both get some benefits from that as well. So it's a win-win. Helps us out, helps you guys as well. The more, the merrier. Let's get them all involved. And also, those of you that are joining the live show, just like Fantasy Fanatics, leave your questions in the comment section. Dyl and I will do our best to get through to them. Dyl, there's plenty of chat. What are we looking at covering today?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Look, we'll jump in and we'll review the top scorers from each position from the round just gone, and then we'll preview each of the 5 games for round 4, discussing the relevant GDS players, and then we'll have a chat about who we're going to pick for our champion squad. Obviously, everyone plays a bit of a different strategy, but for us, we'll discuss our champion squad in particular. And then, as always, at the end, we've got our Bro Down Showdown, where you and I go head-to-head. We select our top scorers for the upcoming round. Looking forward to seeing who came out on top at the end of round 3 as well. As we said, a couple of disappointing scores. There'll be a bit interesting to see what that looks like at the end. Also, after we announce our round 4 players, there'll be a way for viewers to win some prizes as well through Bro Down Showdown, so you do not want to miss it. So stick around. Before we jump into looking at the top performers, though, we messaged earlier in the Discord today about a couple of questions, if anyone had some questions. So we had 2, and we're going to start off with one of them to begin with. And that was Birdie's Boys. He said, is anyone else finding that they're stacking teams with double gamers each week and maybe not getting the return on investment? that's obviously a strategy that we talk about a lot, and a strategy that we have probably gone quite heavily in across the first 3 rounds. And I think we spoke about it last week a little bit, that it might be an opportunity where you go against the grain with stacking your team with double gamers, and look for 1 or 2 opportunities to have a pod from some of the single games, particularly if you're new and maybe you're not challenging for that overall season position. Maybe there's a chance there. Maybe like myself, I'm out of the classic competition at the moment in terms of overall. So that's where I'm going to put a few cheeky pods and just hope that 1 or 2 of those dart throws come through. So yes, along Birdie's saying, I agree. I am stacking my team mostly with double gamers, but there are some other strategies there that you could consider as well. And I'm guessing, Stu, you're pretty much the same.
Yeah, similar. Although I started to sort of reconsider that a little bit during the round just gone, probably because I loaded that team up with double game players and didn't go so well. But I think you shouldn't start a player just because they're on the double. That's obviously the first and foremost rule there. Don't just filter your squad and pick everyone that's on a double. They've still got to be capable of scoring a big score. I think the bat position and the wicketkeeper position, if they're on a double, I'm more likely to lead to playing them, given that the batting position is so volatile. They get 2 cracks at the cherry. If they fail once, then at least they've got another go. The best batsman in the world can fail on any given day. So in the bat position, I don't mind giving them all a double crack, but I'm starting to reconsider a bit more maybe in the all-rounder and the bowler position, that just because they got 2 games doesn't mean they're guaranteed. It obviously means they're more likely. But if they're a gun bowler and they're only playing the 1 game, we saw, what Spencer Johnson did in his return. That was 1 game. He didn't do well in the second game, but it didn't matter. If he'd only played 1 game that round and you had those 4 wickets in your score, that's fantastic. Plenty of bowlers are doing well just on a one-off. And that's why even this round, I'm going to play a bowler or 2 that are only playing the 1 game. But yeah, a little bit of different strategy. I'm probably, going to play less and less as the season goes on and get a little bit different, like you said, Dyl. But definitely in the bat position, I think it's fine to get 2 cracks at the cherry.
Yep, cool. Alrighty, let's jump in and take a look at the top performers of round 3 then, mate.
Awesome, yeah. So we saw James Vince go absolutely nuts in that first match that the Sixers played, and he scored a massive 145 GDS points thanks to his maiden century in the competition. 1 runs. He hit 12 fours and 4 sixes along the way. He took a catch, and of course, getting 100 runs means a 16-point bonus. I think we all remembered when he was on 99 not, and Andrew Tye bowled that pretty poor wide bouncer to finish the game, and he got stranded there on 99. So it was nice to see him get his 100, and he was in a couple of my teams as well. But 145 game day squad points is absolutely massive. Yeah,
I was pretty proud of myself playing Ben Duckett over James Vince for the first innings. So I thought Duckett had come out and scored a pretty decent result, and then Vince goes and blasts 145 points. So luckily I had him in a couple of my other squads, but not in my champion. So yeah, a bit upsetting, but it was good to see. As you said, he got his maiden century, which I couldn't believe it, actually. I thought he'd already had one, but, that's the type of player he is. He goes out and he scores big runs, particularly when the Sixers need it. Jumping over to the all-rounder position was Matt Short. What a surprise. 102 GDS points. That was off the back of 52 runs, 3 fours, 4 sixes, 1 wicket and 1 catch. And then that 50 runs earns him an 8-point bonus there as well. So that was a player that I faded, that you rolled with, and there's an opportunity there, as we said. Someone of his caliber on a single game, you can probably back him to score a few points, and those people that did, those coaches that did, were rewarded.
Yeah, that's right. I think we had a bit of discussion about the Paul Walter versus Matty Short start. Short hadn't been in great form. We knew that he was such a good player. But your argument was sort of Paul Walter's got 2 cracks. He'll do a bit with the ball, and any runs with the bat is going to be a bonus as well. And that was sound logic for the most part. But Matty Short finally found some form with the bat, and he just keeps seeming to chip in with the ball as well, and only bowled the 1 over, but still took that wicket. And we also had a bit of a chat about Spencer Johnson and Xavier Bartlett, the 2 big quicks from the Heat. We spoke about Spencer probably returning maybe a little bit underdone. Yeah, they've held him out with that toe injury and didn't want to play him until he was right to go. But coming back from an injury is always you've got to be a little bit cautious regarding that. And we were happy to run with Xavier Bartlett. He'd been amazing the last few matches, and there was nothing to suggest that he wasn't going to go well. And look, Spencer was good. He bowled a wicket maiden early on. He had 2 wickets, but then I think he took 2 wickets in his last couple of balls as well, which really blew his score out to 127 game day squad points. But it wasn't until that final over where he took 2 wickets that really ballooned out. So it wasn't looking too bad if he didn't play Spencer Johnson. But well done to everyone that took the gamble, yes. Even though he might have been a little bit underdone. He didn't look amazing in the second game, but look, he didn't have a lot to bowl at. The Heat just simply didn't score enough runs, did they?
Yep, they've been pretty disappointing, and I guess we probably feel a little bit justified bagging the Heat batters out for all of the preseason, and they came out and probably overachieved in those first 2 games, and then the second 2 games have showed us that maybe we were a little bit correct in their form and consistency and their ability to build an innings. So that was pretty disappointing to watch last night, to the point where I think I turned it off not long into the second innings, unfortunately.
Yeah, I've been there myself. Hey mate, let's get into preview of game 1. It's probably what everyone want to know, who we're picking in our squads this week, and we've got a couple of teams on the double game. One of them will be the Melbourne Renegades, who take on the Sydney Thunder tonight at NG Stadium. That'll be in about 40 minutes time. And the weather there is looking pretty good. So we should have a great game of cricket. Surprisingly, though, this oval seems to favour the bowlers a little bit more, which could sort of determine some of our choices in terms of who we want to field. But in terms of GDS scores, first innings, they score about 30 points, similar in the second innings, but those points are a bit down compared to other grounds around the country. So it's probably a little bit more favoured toward the bowlers and less for the batsmen. So probably see we've probably gone heavy on bowlers and probably a couple of batsmen in our side as well. The key matchup stats are that the Thunder allow an average of 6 and score an average of 38 themselves. Whereas the Renegades have been really good this season. They allow an average of only 31 and they score an average of 37 themselves. So we really want to be looking at those scores at about 40. And since these scores are quite below 40 at this ground, there's every indication that it might be low scoring, but it might also favour the bowlers as well. So with that in mind, mate, how about we start with the bowlers that we've mentioned? The Renegades have a couple of handy bowlers in Fergus O'Neill, in Tom Rogers, Kane Richardson, Adam Zampa. Will Sutherland will get plenty as an all-rounder as well. But for that bowler position, are you looking at playing a couple of bowlers from this game and even maybe your man from the Sydney Thunder?
Yes, I actually have gone at this stage. I've gone both Renegades quicks in Fergus O'Neill and Tom Rogers. They've probably been the better 2 bowlers so far in the couple of games that they've had across their quicks. So I'm looking at those 2 at the moment. There is probably a little bit of a asterisk to that, just based on who wins the toss and what that looks like, because there's also a pretty decent option from the strikers that I might be looking at playing as well, and I'll get to that soon. The other, as you mentioned, the other bowler that I'm going to run with today is my man Ferguson. Look, before I jump in and start talking about some stats, and as you said, I do love my stats. Viewers, you might notice that there's a bit of a difference between some of the player averages that we discuss and then the player averages that are listed on the GDS stats page. The GDS stats page that you can access and everyone can have a look at, where your players are heading and how they're going. Those stats only consider the best score for a player in their double game. All right. So those stats probably might look a little bit inflated, but it's because that game that they didn't score well isn't included in their average. Whereas the stats that we talk about and that we look at uses the average from all of their games, just to probably give a clearer picture of scoring ability for that player against that team and vice versa, that team, restricting players. So that's probably an important thing to note. If you're sitting there looking at your GDS app, you've got your stats open and you go, hang on, these guys, what are they talking about? It's because there's a slight difference there. But as I was saying, Fergo for me, I really like what he's done so far in his first few games. He's been good without being amazing. He hasn't had that 4 or 5 wicket haul yet, but I feel like it's building and it's coming. For me, the key stat is that the Renegades have allowed an average of 38 bowling points, so just from bowling to fast bowlers this season. So that's the second best average against any team from quicks. So they've got a bit of vulnerability there for the fast bowler. And Fergo, like I said, he's had a really good start. He's averaging 54 points across all games, and those points came from 6 wickets, 32 dot balls, and then he also added a catch there. So he's got that opportunity to have a bit more ceiling to his score. So I really love the dot ball stat there as well. 32 dot balls is absolute gold across any game. And then if he can find a maiden or 2 in there somewhere across the next few games, you're really banking on that. So yeah, at the moment I'm going the 2 Renegades quicks, and then following that up with Lockie Ferguson.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, spot on. I think that big game is just around the corner for him. And since he's not in my side at the moment this week, I hope it's maybe not this round and hopefully in the next round or 2 when he does feature. But yeah, for those that are only looking at playing one of those Renegades quicks, I've had a bit of a look into that matchup head-to-head in terms of Rogers versus O'Neill. And I'm favouring Rogers at the moment. I'm going to play 2 bowlers that are on a single game. That I'll get to a little bit later. But I've gone Tom Rogers over Fergus O'Neill. I think he's just been a little bit more consistent, taking 1, 3, and 3 wickets compared to O'Neill 1, 3, and 0 wickets. Rogers is also striking, so taking a wicket every 8.5 balls versus Fergus O'Neill at 15. So 8.5 is pretty good. Can he maintain that? Probably not, but he's been pretty consistent. There is where I play both of them, and that's probably if the Renegades bowl first tonight. So I'll be keeping a close eye on that team sheet. But yeah, if anyone's tossing up which one of those to play, I'm leaning Rogers. So if you think I'm in form, you can follow me or fade me if you think I've got this one wrong. But yeah, I think it's all about the bowling tonight. But that means that they're going to take plenty of wicket. Are we playing any batsmen, mate? If we're saying all the bowlers are going to do well, how are that's going to go?
Yeah, well, I probably think that a lot of coaches are similar to us, scratching their head between maybe a Jake Fraser-McGurk and a Josh Brown option. I probably would be nervous about playing both of them. We haven't really seen either of them fire yet, which means, law of averages, they're one big game's just around the corner. But the Thunder have allowed an average of 30.8 points per game to the batsmen. However, they've allowed an average of 47 points to opening batsmen. So that is much higher across the competition so far than any other team, which is really interesting. And there's probably then that means there's a world where maybe some players might play both Fraser-McGurk and Josh Brown. But as you said, the venue seems to be leaning more towards bowlers, and that's what the stats are looking at. So I'm probably going to be just going with Fraser-McGurk at the moment, and maybe putting Josh Brown and a couple of my other teams, and just hoping that Fraser-McGurk has an unreal game, and then Josh Brown, maybe the second one, can fire. But yeah, that also probably means that there's probably a pod opportunity there as well for some players who are looking at what both Fraser-McGurk and Josh Brown have done so far and going, no, I'm just going to fade both of them. They haven't come out and performed that well at all. So there's probably a pod opportunity there, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to scroll down your list pretty far to find both of those 2 players as well, if you've got a few cards in your squad there. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a few coaches overlook both of them. But like you said, the Thunder do allow plenty of points to the opening batsman. So hopefully that means we see Jake Fraser-McGurk bat past the 4th over. I don't think he's done so in about his last 6 or 7 at-bats. Look, he's still an explosive batsman. He's still a weapon. He's scored 350s in this competition last year. He still averaged 44 game day squad points last year. He hasn't forgotten how to play. He probably just needs to be a little bit more mindful at the crease. He doesn't need to be the hero and the man and score all the runs for the team. They've got a really strong team now with Tim Seifert batting really well and Laurie Evans right down there at number 5. It doesn't all rest on his shoulders. He just needs to be a little bit more patient, go after the bad balls, yes, but just, look after his wicket a little bit more, particularly on a pitch that might do a few things for the bowlers early. But if one of them's going to go big, I'm backing Jake Fraser-McGurk. He's in my team. I might sprinkle a Josh Brown in 1 or 2 of my my lesser favourite teams because we know exactly what he can do. But I'm probably a little bit more comfortable playing Fraser McGurk, and Tim Seifert will feature pretty heavily.
Yeah.
He's been really good. He's been scoring runs of 55, 37 and 28, which has resulted in 2 matches of over 70 game day squad points. And for a position that's pretty volatile like the bat wicket keeper, he seems pretty consistent and is a pretty easy conclusion at the top there for me.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think Seifert's pretty easy option. People probably look over to the strikers and think, there might be an option there for a double gamer in the wicketkeeper position, but they actually don't have, unless they run Harry Nielsen. They don't have anyone. Pope there is listed as a batsman, so you don't get that option for a wicketkeeper. If you want to go outside the the double gamers, then you're looking at someone like Josh Philippe probably that is a consistent scorer, and that's probably maybe one of the only options that you'd go. So I think a lot of people are going to be loading up on Seifert. So it's just going to be about maybe the rarity of card that you're going to play, and that multiplier that you get from that. So playing something like a Seifert Gold in Classic, might be an awesome play and might be a potential point of difference. Whereas some players might not have that gold up their sleeve to be able to use if he goes off. So yeah, that's probably the other side of the strategy as well. When you look at someone like Seifert, where I think a lot of coaches, a lot of teams are going to have him in. But yeah, as you said, he's been playing well. I've really liked the way that he's played. It's been good to watch. A Kiwi batsman actually going out there and hitting a few balls around.
Yeah, can we not name that other Kiwi batsman? Let's have a rest from saying that person's name, and hopefully that means he might find a bit of form between now and the next time we flirt with adding him to our team. Hey, mate, I've just seen an update for tonight's game. It looks like the Renegades have won the bat flip. They will be bowling first. So that's what I like to hear. I think there's a little bit more in it for them bowling first, particularly because it means they're guaranteed their 20 overs. If they're not bowling 20 overs, it means they're bowling the opposition out and taking 10 wickets. So I'm going to think long and hard about including Fergus O'Neill now. Tom Rogers was always going to start in my team, but provided, of course, those two are both named and there's no curveballs with team lists that will be announced any minute now. They might both get a run since they're guaranteed that first bowling slot, and likely to both of them bowl in the both bowl in the power play and then towards the death as well. So yeah, I might have to do some live on air trading. But we'll see if anyone's in the comments and got access to those team lists. If you don't mind flicking them through as soon as you can, that'll be good. We'll probably chat a bit more about this game and fly through the next, and we might move on when the team lists have been announced. So that shouldn't be too far away, mate. But I imagine you're including Will Sutherland as your Renegades all-rounder.
Yeah, I think again that's probably a no-brainer. He's had a couple of really good games to start the season. He's playing really well, and he gets opportunity with bat and ball compared to some other all-rounders that don't. So I think it's a pretty easy option for me that he goes straight into the side.
Yeah, beautiful. All right. We've just got a quick comment there from Mayan G Gaming who's asked about Darcy Short. Mate, we'll answer that in about less than 5 minutes time. I promise you that. Dylan and I will have a bit to mention about Darcy Short. That's in the second game preview. We just want to get those team lists for particularly the Melbourne Renegades, and then we can move on from game one and start talking about those Adelaide strikers. But yeah, mate, I like him, and we'll see what Dill thinks about him as well. Anyone got
while we're waiting then?
Yep.
While we're waiting then, I'll just bring up someone that people might be looking at and might be thinking, why are we not talking about him? And that's someone like a Mackenzie Harvey for the Renegades. One of the reasons we probably don't like someone like a Mac Harvey is the role that he has in the team and the batting position that he plays. He's so far in the 3 games, he's come out at 4, then 6 and 6. For me, you're not always going to guarantee a bat that deep in the squad. So he might not be able to get those runs. I guess the argument is, how good is he in the field? He took 31 points just from fielding last game, but that only, amounted to 41 total GDS points. So someone like Mac Harvey, I think you can look at him and go, yeah, the fielding's a big, ceiling for him. But yeah, I'm going to stay away from someone like Mac Harvey just because he bats too deep in the order, and there just might not be an opportunity for him, particularly that they're batting in the second innings. If, a couple of those boys up the top fire and have a big game, then there'll be no need for him to come out and even hit a ball. And that might even see him drop down the order further and have Sutherland go up, or there might be some changes there based on sort of the position of the game. So Stu's obviously just dropped out there, so we'll continue on. As he said, if anyone's got those teams listed yet, we would love to see them in the comments so we can start making some decisions about our Fergus O'Neill and Tom Rogers decision. For me, I'm still thinking I might run with the two of them. I did have a think about today whether I played Henry Thornton over someone like Fergus O'Neill. Thanks, Fez. You've got the first one in there, mate. So let's have a look at that. So Jilksy's in the team for the Thunder, and Jason Sanger obviously had that. I think it was a hammy, maybe injury there, so he hasn't pulled up quite as well as he hoped. So Jilksy comes in and looks like he'll be batting at 3. Billings still keeps the gloves, which is good to see. And then Green above Sams, which is interesting. Andrews finds his place in the team again, and Fergo, as we expected. And then it looks like the Renegades has come through as well. So if someone can post that in there, I'll just run through them now as well. So we've got Jake Fraser-McGurk, Brown, Seifert at 3, Bethel at 4, Evans and Harvey 5 and 6. So there's Harvey there at 6, so a bit far down for me. Sutherland, O'Neill, Rogers, Zampa, and Richo to round out the team. So I think it's pretty clear then that we are going to look at loading up on those two Renegades bowlers of Rogers and O'Neill, and just hope that they take a bag of wickets in the first innings, and then maybe Jake Fraser-McGurk just runs down chases down the runs just by himself. All right, still looks like Stewie's having some issues there with his internet, so let's just jump that team list up on the screen there so everyone can see. Thank you, Fantasy Fanatics, for that. And then we're going to jump into that second game so that we can start looking at the strikers players, and we can have a crack there at answering the Darcy Short question. All righty, good timing, Stu. We've just run through the Renegades team, and they're looking as expected, so that's good to see. And then we've got Thunder. The only changes, Jilks and Sanger. So as expected for Renegades, so I think I'm going to run Fergus O'Neill and Rogers. So I might jump into the second game while I'll let you go and make that change to bring Fergus O'Neill in. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think I'll do the exact same thing, mate. I like them bowling first, and they're both pretty handy with the bat. So any runs off the bat is great. But that's probably locked it in for me. Thanks for that, and thanks for covering in my absence. Sorry, viewers. Fingers crossed that's the last time that happens. But let's keep soldiering on. Thanks, Dyl.
All good. All right, game 2, we got the Strikers up against the Scorchers. Strikers obviously on the double game. It is over at Adelaide Oval. Start time 6:15, and it is sunny, nice clear weather for some good cricket. Some key venue stats there. Adelaide Oval has an average score of 37.4 GDS points. First innings, a little bit more fruitful, 40.9 points. Second innings, 33.9. Scorchers allow 31 points, and they've scored an average of 37. So a little bit low there for the Scorchers in terms of what they allow, but that's all right. We've got the Strikers there allowing an average of 37 points and scoring an average of 38 points. So there's probably some opportunity there for our Strikers players to have a pretty good game. Let's jump in. The first question was raised before around Darcy Short and our thoughts on Darcy Short. I'm going to throw it straight to you because I'm pretty sure that you're going to play Darcy Short and I'm not. So talk us through why you're going to play Darcy Short.
Yeah, well, it comes down to Darcy Short versus Chris Lynn debate for me. So I'm playing Seifert and Fraser McGurk, and then I've got 2 spots left. They'll go to Ollie Pope, and then it come down to Darcy Short versus Chris Lynn. Even though Short wasn't named in the team in the first round, it was only because of an injury to that man, Chris Lynn, that saw him get a start, and then the subsequent injury to Jake Weatherald that has seen him hold down that spot. So hopefully he is named, of course, and if he isn't named, Darcy Short, that is, it's an easy palm off to Chris Lynn for me. But Short's looked really good in 2 of those 3 games. He scored a 60 and a 40 for an 80 and a 54 in terms of GDS points, whereas Lynn has struggled to get going a lot more, scoring just 2, 24 and 19 with the bat. What I also found interesting was Darcy Short's strike rate is a massive 152, and we expect Chris Lynn's to be somewhere up there. It's only 118 so far. Yes, it's only a small sample size. Yes, Lynn did miss a game, so he's obviously still, a little bit hampered by an injury. He's getting older. We've spoken about that in length previously. But is he due? Maybe. I might have to sprinkle him in one or two of my squads. But for me, it's Darcy Short. He's in form. He loves those short boundaries there in Adelaide. Linny does too, obviously, but Darcy's hitting them better, and he gets a crack at the top of the innings there. I hope the strikers get to bat first, and I hope he can capitalise. But mate, that's my reasoning. He's looked in a little bit better form. Linny looks struggling. That probably means he's due, but it's the 152 versus 118 strike rate for me. I'm locking and loading Darcy Short.
Yeah, and I'm going the other side. I'm putting my faith in Chris Lynn, probably one final time. Obviously, we saw him fail that fitness test minutes before the start of round 2, and that threw probably every coach almost into a bit of a tailspin, including myself. And so, some of us went with that Jake Weatherald and others went with Darcy Short, the latter obviously being that better option because Jake Weatherald picked up that back spasm and hasn't been right since. So, for me, I feel like, and I continue to say it, Lenny must just be one game from having a big one. And I'm going to, hang my hat on that. But the stat I like, and I guess, it's the opposite to what you're saying, is that Darcy Short is in form right now. But I'm looking at last year's scores that the boys had against the Scorchers. In particular, they played 2 games against them last season. And Lynn averaged 50 GDS points against the Scorchers, whereas Darcy only averaged 7. And in fact, Darcy scored 7 runs both games. So that's something where I'm looking at and going, well, maybe the Scorchers have Darcy's number, and Lynn probably has a better opportunity to hit against the quicks there and find some of that form that we need from him. So that's one of the reasons I'm going Lynn. The other one is potentially he's a massive point of difference that everyone's fading him because he's failed, in the couple of games that he's played and hasn't looked that great. So I'm looking to chase some points to creep up the leaderboard. So I'm going to need to do something a little bit different. So that's, the other reason why I'm probably going to go with Chris Lynn. And then, hope that at least one of the 2 games he has a decent score. But it'll be interesting to watch the Lynn versus Short battle if Short is named. And I don't see why he wouldn't be. Like you said, he's in some form at the moment.
Yeah, and it's probably based around Jake Weatherald as well and how he's recovering from that injury. But, Chris Lynn is just as likely to miss a game as well. And he might play game 1 and miss game 2 if they want to manage that injury throughout the season. And yeah, that stat is pretty alarming in terms of Short scoring 7 and 7 and Lynn scoring 50 as well. But I think the Scorchers bowling has taken a little bit of a step back from the last season or 2. We saw what Mitch Owen did to them just a game or 2 ago. Joe Richardson won't be there. Aaron Hardy's still underdone. And yeah, Behrendorff is good. Morris is good. Ty's really good as well. But they just seem to be a little bit of a different outfit, and they're not winning those games or dominating with the ball as well. It's also at the Adelaide Oval. And I don't know. I don't have the numbers with me on hand at the moment, but I know those top order bats and particularly blokes like Short who like to go square definitely score plenty of runs. But that means Chris Lynn is obviously likely to score plenty of runs as well. But yeah, look, it depends which side of the fence you're on. But Linny will still find a spot or 2 in my squads. But my main one, it's on Darcy Short at the moment. But that little stat there about 50 versus 7 might push me into a trade tomorrow. The beauty is that we can just sit through tonight's game, enjoy all the points coming through from our Renegades players, and then make a decision on Adelaide guys tomorrow. How does that sound?
Yeah, perfect. Let's jump into another question because I'm going to answer it based on this game. So Mian G Gaming, he's absolutely nailing the questions at the moment. Best single match all-rounder pick. So my best single match all-rounder pick is Cooper Connolly, who I'm going to run with in my fourth all-rounder spot. And the reason is that the strikers have allowed an average of 45 GDS points to all-rounder. That's the third highest average by any team this season so far. And Connolly is still coming out at 3 for the Scorchers, even though Hardy was back. So that was great to see. The downside is that neither Hardy nor Connolly bowled against the Heat on Boxing Day. So it will be interesting to see how they're used moving forward when they're both in the team and what that looks like. As you said, there are, the Scorchers bowlers haven't been performing as well as they could be. But when we've seen Connolly come in and play that sort of part-time, quick wicket taker type role, he's done quite well. So for me, I'm putting my my eggs into the Connolly basket as the my fourth all-rounder option. But you've got someone else in the next game, so we'll have a chat about them. Sorry, in the Stars game a little bit later. So we'll have a chat about your best single match all-rounder soon. Is there anyone else in particular that you wanted to chat about? The strikers, obviously the two big all-rounders in Matt Short and Overton are just no-brainers. Is there anyone else in particular?
It'd probably just be Ollie Pope, mate. He's been in some pretty consistent form. His strike rate's been pretty handy as well. He's had scores off the bat of 8, 34 and 39 for GDS points of 51 and 47. So that's the consistency we need there at the top. And yeah, he's come in after a pretty solid start by, Short and the two shorts, and then he can capitalize as well. And he seems to sort of come in around that power play, which is a great time for our middle order bats to come in. If you've got someone named at 4, 5 or 6, if they can get in just before that power play and then take advantage of that power play, that's when the points start rolling in. Yeah. So yeah, I think he's pretty consistent. He's pretty safe in a position that's pretty volatile. He's got the gloves as well. You can't play him in your wicketkeeper spot, but he can always take a couple of catches behind the stumps, and that's always a bonus as well. But yeah, like you said, no-brainer. Play Matt Short, play Jamie Overton, play a high rarity card of them if you can in Classic or Challenger as well, and maybe get an edge on your opponents if they try to sort of play plenty of silvers across the park. That's particularly a strategy of mine. But yeah, it's those two, Ollie Pope, and then probably Darcy Short.
Yeah, and just anyone. I did speak about Henry Thornton earlier as a potential option. Yeah, look, no. the Scorchers allow an average of 41 points to bowlers so far this season, which is actually the second best average for any bowler or any bowlers against a team. And then in particular against quicks, the Scorchers have allowed 37 versus only 11 for spin. So obviously Scorchers are a little bit more susceptible to those quick bowlers. So if someone was looking at someone like Thornton, I wouldn't shake my head at it. And that probably also leads into the great selection of Ollie Pope as well, potentially taking a couple of catches behind the stumps there off some quick bowling. That's more likely to happen. So, I think Henry Thornton might be a pretty good option. And, if people are going to run with the two Renegades bowlers and then follow it up with a Thornton, that's a really good option there as well.
Yeah, sounds good to me, mate. Want to fly on to match 3?
Yep, let's go.
That'll be between the Hurricanes and the Sixers down there at Ninja Stadium. It's a 3 o'clock game, guys. There'll be a double header on Wednesday, so make sure you're prepared for that. It's a 3 o'clock start down here in Queensland time. There's a little bit of rain forecast down in Hobart, but it shouldn't impact that venue too much, if at all. There's just maybe a little bit of rain early afternoon and early evening as well. Some key venue stats. Interestingly, the average score is only 30 points, with the first innings score of only 25 and the second innings score of 35. So it looks like those batsmen in the second innings may be a little bit more likely to score well. But quite interesting as well, the Sixers are a red-hot side, aren't they? We saw what they did to the Heat last night. They're the best in terms of conceding points. They allow only 28.5 points to the opposition. And themselves, they score an average of 40, which is the most as well. So that's why they were full of full of our squads last round were full of Sixers players just because of how dominant they are. The Hurricanes are sort of a middling team. They allow 33 and they score an average of 32 themselves as well. But given that both teams only play one match this round, given that there's a big injury cloud over Jack Edwards, who almost would be an answer to that question you had earlier about the best single game all-rounder. Can't play him after missing due to, what was it, hamstring soreness, I think? Or he looks to be all right. He's been back training, so he should be okay to go maybe this game or next. But the only real player I'm considering in this match actually answers Caleb's question. So thanks for sending that through, Caleb. But I really like Benny Dorshus, and I'm going to play him over the likes of Henry Thornton, and some people might be leaning towards, a Lloyd Pope or a Cameron Boyce, given that they play 2 games. But this man is just in some red hot form, and he was in my side last round, and he's not going to be leaving it anytime soon. We saw what he did to the Heat last night. He's leading the competition in terms of wickets. He's got 10 in 4 matches, and he's taking a wicket every 9.6 deliveries. I think the Canes can be quite vulnerable, and I love this play even more if the Sixers bowl first. And they love to chase, so that if they win the bat flip, they almost always opt to bowl first, and the Hurricanes like to set a score first as well. So I think it's fairly likely that Benny Dorshus will bowl first, and if needed with the bat, he can certainly hit a ball too. He's already scored 34 runs in 2 main innings with the bat. He's striking at a massive 242, and only one other bowler only has scored more runs than him. In fact, it's only one more run, and it's the man he's opposing in this match, and that's Nathan Ellis. But Benny Dorshus is a lock for me until he misses, just because of his role in that team now that Sean Abbott's not there, and he's handy with the bat if called upon as well. But that's not why I'm picking him. I'm picking him because of the form he's in with the ball. So thanks for that, Caleb. Yeah, it's Benny Dorshus for me. If you played him last week, mate, no need to take him out of your side. Back him in again this round. I think he'll go well against the Canes.
Yeah, the only reason I'm not playing him, I'm a little bit nervous chasing points from last week. Obviously everyone had him in their team, but yeah, just coming off the forfer, you'd be wanting that again, and so I'm just a little bit nervous about that happening. Or not happening if I'm chasing those points. But yeah, like you said, he's the leading bowler in GDS, averaging 72.5 points per game. So there's no reason why anyone shouldn't play him as probably the best single game bowler. And I like that we've probably gone as a Sydney bowler as our single gamer in Ferguson versus Dorshus. So that'll be another good little matchup to watch outside of our Brodown showdown that we'll get to a little bit later.
Yeah, that's right.
I love it. Look, the only other one I'll quickly talk about before we move on, and I won't spend much time on it, but people might be looking at that man that you spoke of, Nathan Ellis, or they might also be looking at someone like Shai Hope, who's had some decent scores so far. I probably won't be going anywhere near Ellis this round, just because the Sixers are really good at restricting the bowler position. And in particular, they've restricted them to an average of just 18 points per game. So you really don't want that from your bowler. And if they're going to do that again to Nathan Ellis, then that's just, pretty much as good as a 0 in your team when you've got some other double gamer options there. So I'll be avoiding Nathan Ellis this round. In terms of Shai Hope as a potential option, the Sixers are actually quite vulnerable. We spoke about that last week to the wicketkeeper position. They've allowed an average of 55 GDS points, which is the second highest to the wicketkeeper position. And some notable players and scores over the first few games is Bancroft 97 GDS points, Seifert 79 GDS points, and then Duckett 106. So I think there's an opportunity there if maybe you don't have some of the cards that we've spoken at. You don't have a Tim Seifert. You don't have an Ollie Pope in your bat position, something like that. Maybe you do have a Shai Hope. That could be an option there as one of those players that you might play and might be a bit of a dart throw for you.
Yeah, love it, mate. Just really quickly, we'll move on to the fourth game in a minute. Mian G Gaming, thanks again, mate. I think it's about third or fourth question. Good on you, buddy. Love the contribution. He's just asked about Kerr as a fourth all-rounder. Not for me this week. Look, if Jack Edwards isn't named on the team,
Yeah, I'll jump in there because it looks like Stewie's dropped out again. Yeah, I think what he was going to say, if Jack Edwards isn't named on the team sheet, then we potentially look at Hayden Kerr as an option. He did get those key overs that Jack Edwards probably would have got if he was there. So that's probably something to keep an eye on and have a look at over the next couple of days when those squads are announced and see what the health is of Jack Edwards. There's definitely an option there for Kerr, but it'll all just depend on whether Jack Edwards is going to play, and then what that role will mean for Hayden Kerr. We saw, Hayden Kerr in that second game where Edwards was good. He bowled 3 overs and took 1 wicket. So there's still an opportunity for Hayden Kerr to score well. But for me, it'll all just depend on whether Edwards is playing or not. So keep an eye on those team lists. Make sure you jump onto the Discord. That's a perfect opportunity to get in there. We try and post team lists as soon as we get them, as soon as we can find them, including the squads that are announced the day before, just so you can start tinkering with teams if you need to as well. As Stewie starts to get himself organised again, let's jump into the next game. So the next game is game 4 on the Wednesday. That is New Year's Day. As we said, it is a double gamer. It is the Heat versus the Stars. That's at the Gabba again at 6:15. There is a little bit of rain around again. Thankfully, that rain did disappear from the previous game. I think we got a bit of a storm the night before, and then it was nice and clear for that game yesterday. There is a bit of rain around, so keep an eye on that. Forecasts indicate it shouldn't impact this game too much. In terms of the Gabba stats, it's an average of 34 GDS points. The first innings, 29. Following the second innings, a massive 39. So definitely a better opportunity for second innings batsmen there. And we saw that in the Sixers game against the Heat last night. Look, in terms of the Stars up against the Heat, the Stars have allowed an average of 41.5 points, which is the most by any team in the competition. And they've scored an average of 29.8, which is the least in the competition. So there's no reason believing that they are in last place. That's a good indicator that they are not doing too well at all. In terms of the Heat, they allow an average of 37 and they score an average of 31, which is actually second last in the competition. So that's a bit scary looking at that score, that across the whole team, we're not scoring that well. Some big squad news. So Walkie's Waxackers posted in Discord earlier today and asked about any major outs. I think this game is where the big outs or the major ones probably come in, and that's Curran. He's been sent for scans, so he'll likely miss again after missing that second game of their double, which obviously hurt a lot of coaches, including myself. And then Webster, there could be an opportunity for him to have that test call up after Mitch Marsh's sort of poor series so far. And that's probably the best like-for-like replacement there. So keep an eye on those squads, as I said. Keep an eye on the Discord. But there's probably the big 2 major outs for me. How does that then shape your team moving forward, looking at the all-rounder position from the Stars? Look, I had a big mantra after the end of yesterday's round, after round 3. My mantra is I can no longer trust any Stars all-rounder. But you quite haven't gone that way. You're sort of looking at one particular all-rounder. Talk us through him.
Yeah, mate. It's that man. What do we call him? The most frustrating player in game day squad. That's Glenn Maxwell. Yeah, you're right. The Stars have been dreadful, to be honest, in their last couple of matches. But I think he's such a competitor. He's such a good player. He even more is going to rest on his shoulders now without Curran and without probably Bo Webster as well. Those all-rounders now are looking pretty thin at that club, and we know that their bowling stocks aren't great either. So I feel as though Maxi's probably going to have a little bit more of a role with the ball. He might need to step up and do a little bit more himself. And I think this is the match that he is really going to pull things together and put the team on his shoulders and say, hey, boys, we can still do this. And I'm going to lead from the front. He's only had scores in GDS of 45, 47 and 16. So look, those 45s and 47s, aren't shocking. And he hasn't even looked very good with bat or ball. So I still think a big score is just around the corner. I said this last round with Matty Short. He hadn't been in form. He'd been hitting the ball poorly. He was only getting bailed out by a few lucky wickets with the ball. but this has got Glenn Maxwell written. This has got Matt Short 2.0 written all over it. I think this is Maxie's big one. I promise I will put a line through his name if he doesn't go well this round. But yeah, for me, it's the stars are aligning, and it's going to be a big one for Maxie. And I think he might get 2 or 3 overs with the ball, I'm hoping, and maybe at least past 30 with the bat this round.
Yeah, well, I think I said it in the Discord, after that Stars game, it's just so frustrating that we have no clarity at all around any of the all-rounders' roles in the team. Stoinis bowls a bunch of overs and Maxi doesn't. Then Maxi comes out and bowls a couple of overs and Stoinis doesn't, and then Webster comes in and bowls all 4. It's like we need some clarity. We need to know there's no consistency at all. So for me, I'm just fading all of them until I see some consistency. But I think I say it every week, there's at least one player that I'm watching with my hands over my eyes, and I think Maxwell's the one to watch this week in that position, because I am going with Cooper Connolly as my 4th all-rounder position, and that means Maxwell doesn't find a spot in my team, and I think I'll be pretty nervous up against the Heat. In saying that, though, I'll do a little fist pump if he fails. Sorry.
Yeah, that's completely fine. And as a Heat fan, it's that 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. If Maxi goes well, then that's good for my game day squad side. If he doesn't, then that probably means the Heat are well on top and probably closer to another finals berth. So there we go. Just a final quick question here. Benny Duckett. Yeah, look, he's a fine play. He's been in some form. He performed really well about those last 2 matches and even took a couple of grabs in the outfield as well. But I think there are some better options this round. I'm looking for a bit of upside in those Renegades blokes and as well as the Adelaide strikers. But there's nothing to tell me for me to tell you to take Duckett out of your team. If you think he's going to go well again this match, then absolutely, yeah, he's in some form and form is what we want in this game, and he certainly showed plenty of it. So yeah, back yourself if you think he's a good play, and I'm sure he'll do a job again. But yeah, it's just the one game, and it's a little bit less likely, and gets one good rock, and that's his evening done.
Yeah, and you just don't know whether he's going to get the gloves with Sam Harper still hanging around that team. I guess the one good thing that you could probably use to support that, Mian, is that the Heat allow an average of 49 points to wicket keepers, which is the 3rd highest across any team. So there's some decent stats there that support potentially playing Duckett. We did see, him take that unreal catch the other night. Was an absolute screamer. So he's got that ability as well in the field to, boost his points a little bit.
Yeah, spot on. Mate, we've spoken at length about all of the relevant Renegades and Strikers players. So we'll run through this one quickly. They obviously match up against each other for game 5 of the round to conclude round 4. And regardless of what the stats say, they're already locked into our teams, really, aren't they? Well, particularly Renegades in about 8 minutes' time, and then the Strikers this time tomorrow night. But again, this I feel like Marvel Stadium is a little bit more conducive to the bowlers as well. The average score is a little bit higher than NG Stadium, where the Renegades are playing tonight, just in those high 30s. But as mentioned earlier, the Renegades allow an average of 31 points and score an average of 37 themselves, and the Strikers in the high 30s as well. It might be another game that slightly favours ball over bat, and I don't know what that means for our teams. We've loaded up on Renegades bowlers and a couple of Strikers batters. Let's hope our Renegades bowlers get the Strikers batters we haven't played, and our Strikers batters get on top of some of those Renegades bowlers we've overlooked. It's a tough one when you've got so many players playing against each other, isn't it?
It's just one of those ones where you hope in the first couple of games your players have big scores or decent scores, and then you get to this last game and they're up against each other, and there's only an opportunity to upgrade that, 50, 60 to a potential ton, somewhere. It doesn't have to be every one of them, but, a couple of them. Look, I did mention Thornton before, and here's another reason why he might be a pretty good option. The Gades allow just over 40 points to bowlers, which is the 3rd highest average across all teams. And then bowlers at Marvel have averaged almost 50 GDS points. So for me, that might be a really good reason that Thornton comes out and has a massive game and scores a few extra points there. So that might be another last-minute reason why someone might want to fade someone like O'Neill, or even Tom Rogers if you think he's done his dash and you're not keen on Rogers, then Thornton might be your man there.
All right, mate. On screen now is a bit of a summary about everything Dyl and I have spoken about. This is what we're rolling into the champion competition with. You can see obviously a couple of differences what we've spoken about, and I've currently got Xavier Bartlett there, but that's obviously recently changed to Fergus O'Neill. Bartlett was in there as a big maybe for the Heat against the Stars, who are such a poor outfit with the bat, let's be honest. But yeah, Fergus has got the nod there. Dyl, we are about 5 minutes away from the first ball, so let's run through the Bro Down Showdown quickly. Let's not focus on this slide for too long, but what you can see on screen is obviously Dyl going up 2-1 in the Bro Down Showdown round or week 2 from last week. He tipped Philippi, Maxwell, and Hussain to outscore my 3 of Munro, Edwards, and Benny Dorcius. And while Benny Dorcius went pretty well for me, the other two certainly let me down. I don't think Munro will find his spot in my team ever again. He just looks disinterested. Jack Edwards was pretty tough. He got injured. He didn't bowl as a result, or he only bowled 1 as a result. He didn't bat at all. So there are reasons, but congratulations, mate. That means Dyl gets 2 cards from a pack that I have to open. And since I got 1 point, one of those cards will go to the viewers. So we'll open that quickly, Dyl, and then we'll have a look at who we've gone for this week.
Perfect. Let's do it.
Rightio. So I pre-opened a pack, and you'll see it on screen.
Yep.
There are 3 options from a unique pack. Dyl, you've got 2. One's going on the transfer market for 51 cents. Do you want to pick your 2 first, or do you want to pick the transfer market one first?
No, let's go the transfer market first. Let's go straight down the middle. That's going on the transfer market for 51 cents. Here we go.
Like a platinum card. Alrighty. So someone that we've spoken at length about, and someone you might be able to plug into your challenger or champion next before tomorrow night. So someone's getting that for 51 cents. I might throw that up at the innings break tonight.
Yes,
there you go.
I like that.
Those people that are watching the innings break tonight, I won't announce it on Discord. So if you've stuck through this long in the live stream, you can get yourself a Darcy Short for 51 cents. Dyl, that means you've got the right and AJ tie.
Okay.
Beauty. Oh, and we've got a unique card here. You've got Sama Merv. You own one of him?
No, I don't have his diamond, so that will come in handy, I think. He's shown a little bit, and hopefully he can improve as the Stars continue. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, it's just a shame that they've been so poor, hey?
Yep.
Rightio. For our next round of the Bro Down screen, that Dyl has gone for that man, Jake Fraser-McGurk. He's gone Matty Short as his all-rounder and Tommy Rogers as his bowler. I've stuck to my word on Benny Dorcius. He's staying as my bowler. I've gone the other strikers, all-rounder and Jamie Overton. Let's hope he gets another good knock with the bat, because he's absolutely killing it with that as well. And a bit of safety, I think, with my bat wicketkeeper position. I've gone Timmy Seifert. If only knocks out a 40 or a 50, I think that's enough to knock over Fraser-McGurk this week. Hopefully I can get back into the winner's circle, mate. It's been a lean trot for me at the moment, but I think I've picked the 3 blokes to do it.
Yeah, I think Overton's a really good call. I mean, him and Short are dominating that all-rounder position, but Overton's way ahead at the moment. He's, on top of all scoring across GDS. So he's got a total of 342 points and an average of 85.5, which has him at number 1. So, yeah, I think that's a really good option. But I couldn't fade Matt Short. Just couldn't do it.
Yeah, his ceiling is just too big, isn't it? He can go absolutely. All right, mate. Well, that concludes our round 4 preview of the Aus Cricket Fantasy Show. Thanks again, everyone, for tuning in and sending your questions through in the live chat. Really appreciate that tonight. Good luck for the upcoming round. Remember, join us in the Game Day Squad Discord channel for some more info, some squad lists, some team lists, some squad news, all that sort of stuff, and even to get your questions answered as well. Remember, if you're new, please sign up using the code FBAC24, or if you're a regular, get your mates involved. It's a lot of fun. You can score yourselves plenty of free packs. You can win cash prizes and pack prizes as well. We'll see you again for the round 5 preview. That'll be this Friday at 4 o'clock, a bit of an earlier start for this one. Thanks very much, viewers. Thanks, Dyl. Good luck, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Let's go have a good round.
See ya.
See ya.